Ultimately, obviously, the sort of learning process through this movie does have a bittersweetness to it, because, of course, characters need for them to learn lessons. It comes at the cost of other things.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how do you sort of see...
better with this pen?
What's that?
Do I look better with this pen?
Yes. Yeah. Much more intellectual.
More like an auteur? Okay, keep going.
So no, but like, how do you make sure, or how do you, I guess, feel about the idea, particularly of Uma's character? I mean, she sort of follows through on sort of what she's going to do at the beginning of this movie, which can be seen any number of ways. I mean, it can sort of be looked at as sort of a tragic kind of pragmatism, but, it can also just be like being realistic and yet not being unromantic. How did you sort of see that? Obviously, you don't want to like vilify or punish a character, but you do need to. I assume that you have some point of view on that.
Yeah, I mean, she's at a stage in where she needs to grow up as much as Michael does, and I think she needs to be with the grown-up. I think being with a kid like Michael, who is just pure romance, which you think is what you want, is can be really sort of destructive to everyone and reckless. And it's kind of made clear in that scene in the beach, when bad things almost happen to her and Michael comes down and kind of makes it about himself and it's like, are you mad at me? And she falls into Lee's arms, and it's like, that's what she needs. That's what Michael can't even understand. What she needs is a man, and she's the type of person that needs a very specific kind of man to be able to deal with her. And she's as much romance as Michael is, and she I have a lot of love for her character. I don't necessarily think of it as tragic, but I think everyone in the end of the movie ends up where they should. I think it wouldn't be right if it ended a different way, even though it would maybe be more romantic. It's like all you can ever try to achieve in film is to get the moment conveyed in which Dustin Hoffman and Catherine Ross are on the bus and their smiles kind of go to like, oh no. And like that's one of the most powerful moments in cinema history, I think. And all you want is to try to get that feeling across.
When you're sort of, obviously coming from, as you say, sort of an emotional place, drawing upon at least obliquely experiences of your own. Sort of how geographically do you think about sort of the ideas that you're coming up with as a screenwriter and a filmmaker? Because, a lot of filmmakers obviously draw upon their own lives or their own experiences, but there's also sort of the idea of like how many people are drawing on sort of a certain kind of familiar like template of storytelling versus maybe telling a story like Boziakin did for like Fresh or something like that that really takes them outside of there. Do you just follow sort of a direct sort of creative line from what your experiences are, or do you feel compelled to challenge yourself to go, I'm going to write not to actually do a superhero movie, but something that is obviously far detached from your own?
I mean, I get bored very easily, so I can only assume that I will really need to do something different after, and I just finished writing it, and it is really, really different. But still similar emotional, tone, I think. But, I don't know. I don't think about that much stuff. The second I start to if I start to define myself by that stuff, I feel like, or read what someone has to say about me, and I feel like it probably would get dangerous, and I would probably be like giving up the only thing that I have, which is just what keeps my interest. I mean, to sit down in a room by yourself and write is such a terrible experience for anyone to have to do for a living, at least in my opinion, that I just have to do something that I'm interested in, that I love. Otherwise, I'll want to jump off a balcony, because I can't force myself to do anything else. I'm in a weird position where I've just made one movie, and it's a very kind of specific movie. I think my voice hopefully will be in any movie I do, even if the sort of genre is different.
Well, how far along are you on sort of the next?
I'm finished with the script, and I'm starting to cast.
Well, how much at this point have you sort of formalized your creative process? Whether it's like holding up in a hotel room for a month and writing, or like in terms of.
I like to treat writing as a day job. I don't like to work at night. I don't like to work on the weekends. I like to work from 9 to 7 every day. You know, like if someone is at work or something. You know, and that way I can kind of try to have a normal, remotely positive life where I can have dinner with my girlfriend and or my friends and not like, you know, turn into a maniac. You know, so for me it's, you know, I always try to keep it as a day job because then I can remember why I like it, you know, and I don't ever grow to hate it too much.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that you participated or helped out with the Clark and Michael series, which is so awesome. I was wondering, you know, are there any plans to put that on DVD or anything?
We always are asked that. I don't know. It's up to the guys, kind of. You know, it's really was their show. You know, I was just kind of there to help facilitate and sort of marvel at the two of their sort of comedic brilliance, which is you know, I really haven't seen, you know, in a lot of ways. I think the two of them together are so unbelievable. And making that was a real pleasure for me, just to hang out with them, and we're all still good friends. Hopefully we'll do something with it. I don't know. I feel like I don't know exactly what needs to happen. I don't know like what the rights situation is right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, the fact that that was online. How do you see that as like a different or maybe sort of an inspirational creative exercise when you are going back to doing sort of feature work?
Well, you know, I think it's probably, you know, this do-it-yourself, you know, mantra that's sort of taking over, you know, movies, you know, whether it's, you know, Paranormal Activity or Tiny Furniture or something that's, you know, really kind of taking over, and I think probably was influenced by the internet and how people could just sort of shoot impulses and act, and even though those movies are well thought out and the scripts are really well written, you know, I think Lena Dunham's script is fantastic, but I don't know, it's different, you know, because I don't think my movie doesn't really have a do-it-yourself feel to it, just because that those aren't necessarily the things that I'm naturally good at or inclined to do, you know, but you know, it seems like, you know, film school is now owning a camera, and which is super cool because film school is expensive and in a lot of ways I think overrated. Mm-hmm. And speaking of somebody who paid money and went to film school, but you know, just shooting and finding your voice, and I don't even know what that means really, but everyone tells me to find, you know, you have to find your voice. Mm-hmm. You know, it seems like that's the best thing you can do, mm-hmm. And yeah.